You've probably heard it before, leave your problems at the door. It's a phrase meant to encourage focus, to separate personal from professional. But here's the truth. The human brain doesn't clock in separately from the body. Stress doesn't disappear under a hard hat. Anxiety doesn't wait outside the job site fence. And trauma doesn't punch out when the shift ends. Mental health isn't something that lives in a different room from safety, it is safety. In this final episode of The Silent Strain, we're tying everything together, the fatigue, the fear, the invisible battles, and seeing how every part of mental well-being affects physical performance, decision-making, and ultimately, survival. Let's go back to something simple. Imagine standing on a ladder, tired, distracted, your mind replaying a fight you had that morning. Now imagine the same ladder, same task, but this time, you're clear-headed, well-rested, supported by a team that checks in, not just checks boxes. Which version of you is safer? It's not theoretical. Study after study shows that poor mental health increases the risk of workplace incidents. According to the World Health Organization, workers under high psychological strain are 3 times more likely to experience an occupational injury. 3 times. Why? Because when the mind is overloaded, the body follows. Reaction time slows, focus narrows, communication falters, near misses get ignored, and all it takes is one slip for stress to become a stretcher. Let's look at the data. In the United Kingdom, a major study conducted by the Health and Safety Executive found that over 17 million working days were lost in a single year due to work-related stress, depression, or anxiety. But it didn't stop at absenteeism. Workplaces with high mental strain also had higher incident rates, higher turnover, and, critically, lower hazard reporting. Why? Because when people don't feel psychologically safe, they stop speaking up. They stay silent. And silence is dangerous. There's a story from a manufacturing plant in Ontario. A seasoned worker noticed a machine guarding issue, but he was in the middle of a divorce. He hadn't slept. He told himself, "I'll report it tomorrow." That afternoon, someone else reached into that same machine to clear a jam, without realizing the guard was compromised. The injury wasn't just about missing a procedure. It was about a worker overwhelmed by life and unsupported by a workplace that never asked how he was doing. Mind and body, always connected. So what does it mean to integrate mental health into physical safety? It starts with shifting the culture. We can't keep treating mental health like a private matter and safety like a checklist. They belong at the same table. In Finland, several construction companies now include mental readiness as part of their fit-for-work assessments. It's not just, "Are you rested?" It's, "Are you okay today?" Supervisors are trained to recognize signs of cognitive overload. Crews are encouraged to speak up if they're distracted or emotionally off balance. And when someone does, the first response isn't punishment, it's support. These changes didn't just reduce incidents, they improved retention, increased morale, and made people feel, for the first time, like the company had their back. Let's look at aviation. In commercial flight, pilots undergo rigorous mental fitness checks. Why? Because even the smallest lapse in focus can have catastrophic consequences. The aviation industry doesn't separate psychological readiness from operational safety, it treats them as inseparable. Why should the construction site be different, or the warehouse, or the hospital? In South Korea, Samsung's semiconductor division introduced a mental health dashboard that anonymously tracks team wellness trends. When stress indicators spike, leadership is alerted, not to punish, but to investigate workload, team dynamics, or external pressures. That data feeds back into scheduling, job rotation, and training. It's not about policing people, it's about protecting them. The German manufacturing sector has also embraced integrated safety and mental wellness. In one case, a Stuttgart-based auto parts plant implemented a mental recharge zone, a small, quiet space workers could visit to decompress during high-stress periods. Combined with supervisor check-ins and anonymous suggestion systems, it created an environment where safety meetings began with 2 minutes of silent breathing and ended with workers feeling heard, not hurried. The company reported not only fewer incidents but also faster production cycles, because mentally fit workers worked smarter. Another example comes from Chile's mining industry. Following a high-profile collapse that trapped 33 miners underground for 69 days, the national conversation shifted toward emotional resilience. In response, some operations began offering trauma-informed support as part of regular safety training. Peer teams were trained in both hazard recognition and stress response, and emotional wellness was built into shift planning. So how do we build safety systems that recognize the mind-body connection? We begin by reimagining daily conversations. A foreman in New Brunswick began starting every morning with a single sentence. "Let me know if anything's weighing on you today." He didn't pry, he just left the door open, and in the first week, 2 workers came forward, one dealing with a parent's illness, another who'd been in a car accident the night before and hadn't slept. That openness prevented distraction from becoming a disaster. And there's more. A utility crew in California piloted a program where each worker had a buddy for emotional check-ins. Just one person to ask, "How's your head today?" before the shift began. Within 3 months, the site saw a dramatic drop in incident reports linked to human error, and a rise in employee satisfaction scores across the board. In New Zealand, the forestry sector rolled out a peer-led Stop for Life program. Crews were encouraged to pause work when emotional strain was too high. One worker described it like this: "We treat it like we would a thunderstorm. When it hits, we wait it out together." That's what a culture shift looks like. Because when safety is truly integrated, mental health isn't an afterthought, it's the foundation. Let me leave you with one final thought. If your mind isn't safe, your hands won't be either. We've spent this series talking about silence, stigma, and the invisible strain workers carry every day, but we've also talked about solutions, real ones. Peer support, leadership action, structural change, and most of all, human connection. The next chapter of workplace safety won't be built on compliance alone, it'll be built on compassion, on the courage to speak up, and the power of creating space for the whole person, not just the part wearing the uniform. So the next time someone tells you to leave it at the door, you have a choice. You can nod and push it down, or you can be the kind of leader who says, "What you carry matters. Let's carry it together." That's how we keep each other safe. Thank you for being part of the silent strain. This is just the beginning. Now go start the conversation that changes your workplace. You're not alone.